Aaron was a young historian living in a small village at the edge of a vast desert from a young age. He loved reading about ancient kingdoms, old battles, and lost treasures every evening. He would sit under the big neem tree near his home and read old books by the flickering light of a lantern. One day, while visiting the village library, Aaron found a very old, dusty book hidden on the highest shelf. Its cover was worn, and the pages were yellow with age. Something about the book called to him. He opened it carefully, turning the fragile pages with respect. Inside, he found notes, sketches, and maps of lands long forgotten. But one map caught his attention more than anything else. It was drawn in fine, careful lines, showing a path through the desert to a tomb that was never mentioned in any history. He had read. The map had strange symbols, drawings of guardians, and a small inscription in an ancient language. Aaron's heart beat faster. He could not read the inscription fully, but he sensed a warning in its curves. Aaron carried the book back home. That night, he studied the map by candlelight. His eyes scanned the lines and symbols, tracing the path through mountains, dry riverbeds, and sand dunes. He felt excitement and fear together. What if the tomb was dangerous? What if it was protected by traps or curses? Still, Aaron's curiosity grew stronger. He wanted to know the story of the king who had been buried there, the treasures, and the secrets hidden for centuries. The next morning, Aaron told his friend Mira about the map. Mira was a brave young archaeologist who had traveled to many historical sites in nearby towns. She had a keen mind and a fearless heart. When Aaron showed her the map, her eyes widened. "This is incredible," she said. "I have heard legends of tombs lost in this desert, but no one has ever found them. If this map is real, it could be the discovery of a lifetime." Mira and Aaron decided to examine the map together. They compared it with old village records, star charts, and notes from other historians. Every detail seemed to match, as if the map had been drawn by someone who had actually seen the tomb. Yet, there was one warning repeated in the old texts: the tomb must not be disturbed. Those who enter bring danger upon themselves. Aaron felt a shiver, but did not want to give up. He explained, "I know the warning is serious, but what if it is just a story to protect the tomb? We could be careful. We could respect it while exploring." Mira nodded. Though her brow was tight with concern, she said, "We must be cautious. If this is real, the tomb may have traps or other dangers. We must plan carefully and not act recklessly." They decided to organize a small expedition. Aaron gathered supplies, water, food, lanterns, ropes, and tools to carefully dig and study any artifacts they might find. Mira brought maps, old scrolls, and instruments to read ancient symbols. They also invited to more friends from the village, Ravi and Leela, who were skilled in navigation and survival. The team was small but determined, and they trained for several days, practicing walking long distances in the heat and carrying heavy loads. Before leaving, the villagers warned them. An old woman, who had seen many travelers vanish in the desert, came to Aaron and Mira. "You must listen to the tomb's warning," she said. "Some things in this world are meant to sleep forever. Do not wake them." Aaron thanked her respectfully, but felt that he had to continue. Mira touched his shoulder. "We will be careful," she promised. On the first morning of the journey, the desert looked endless. Golden sand stretched as far as the eye could see, with hills that seemed to move like waves. The sun rose slowly, painting the dunes with light. The team walked steadily, following the map, marking landmarks, and keeping notes. Every sound, from the wind to distant calls of birds, seemed louder in the quiet desert. After several hours, they reached the first set of ancient stone markers shown on the map. These were unusual rocks carved with strange symbols. Mira examined them closely. "These match the drawings in the book," she said. "They are warnings, but also directions. The king who built this tomb wanted only the careful and wise to find it." Aaron traced the carvings with his fingers, feeling the smooth, cold stone. He imagined the king standing here long ago, watching travelers, deciding who could come closer. That night, the team camped under a sky filled with stars. The desert was quiet, almost too quiet. and shadows moved strangely in the firelight. Aaron and Mira spoke softly while the others slept. "Do you think we are ready for what lies ahead?" Aaron asked. Mira looked at the glowing embers and nodded. "We must be. The tomb will test us, not just with traps, but with our courage and wisdom. We cannot turn back now." During the night, Aaron had a dream. He saw the tomb covered in jewels and gold, guarded by statues that moved silently. He saw a figure of a king, with eyes that seemed alive, watching him. The king spoke without words, warning him to be respectful and careful. Aaron woke with a start, feeling the weight of responsibility. He knew the desert was more than just sand, and he held secrets, challenges, and perhaps even dangers that could change their lives forever. The next morning, the team packed quickly and moved further into the desert. Each step brought them closer to the unknown. The path was not easy. They climbed dunes that felt like mountains, crossed dry riverbeds with hidden pits, and faced sudden gusts of wind that tried to push them back. Yet Aaron, Mira, Ravi, and Leela kept moving, encouraged by the sense of discovery. They shared stories, laughed to live spirits, and reminded each other of the goal ahead. By the end of the first part of their journey, they had reached the area marked on the map as the start of the tomb's secret path. The sun was low in the sky, casting long shadows over the sand. Aaron and Mira looked at each other, knowing that the next day would bring the first real test of courage and wisdom. The tomb was close, and the story of the forgotten king was waiting to be discovered. The desert whispered in the evening wind, carrying promises of mystery, danger, and wonder. Aaron felt a mixture of fear and excitement. He realized that the adventure they had begun was not just about treasure or history. It was about respect, courage, and the power of curiosity. The tomb that should never be disturbed was calling them forward, and there was no turning back. The morning sun burned brightly over the desert as Aaron, Mira, Ravi, and Leela prepared to continue their journey. The sand stretched endlessly in every direction, and the wind carried a dry heat that made their faces sting. Despite the discomfort, the team was filled with determination. The tomb, hidden for centuries, was closer than ever, and the excitement of discovery kept their spirits high. As they walked, they noticed strange patterns in the sand. Some looked like animal tracks, but others seemed irregular, as if made by someone or something long ago. Mira knelt down and examined the marks. "These are not ordinary tracks," she said. "They may be signs left by the builders of the tomb to guide travelers, or warn them of danger." Aaron traced the lines with his fingers. The desert, vast and harsh, had its own way of telling stories, and he realized that every step they took brought them deeper into history. Hours passed, and the heat became intense. Ravi carried most of the water, while Leela guided them using the sun and compass. The group moved slowly, taking care not to tire themselves. Occasionally, they stopped to rest under small rock formations, shaded from the sun. Aaron noticed that the desert, though quiet, seemed alive. The wind whispered through the sand, and shadows moved oddly on the dunes. He felt a chill, as if someone unseen was watching their progress. By late afternoon, they reached the first landmark shown on the map, a circle of large stones half buried in sand. The stones were carved with symbols similar to those on the map. Mira examined them carefully, brushing away the sand with her hands. "These carvings tell a story," she said. "They speak of a king who valued wisdom and courage. They warn travelers to be respectful and careful. If anyone tries to enter without understanding, they will face trials." Aaron felt both excitement and unease. The tomb was near, but the warning was clear. As they continued, the desert grew more challenging. The dunes were taller and steeper, and hidden valleys of soft sand threatened to swallow their feet. The team worked together, helping each other climb and avoid traps of loose sand. Leela, always alert, noticed shadows moving differently from the sun's path. "Watch your steps," she said. "The desert is full of surprises, and we must stay aware." Aaron nodded, realizing that every moment required focus and care. Night fell, and the temperature dropped quickly. The desert, once scorching, became cold and silent. The stars appeared, bright and countless, stretching across the sky. The team set up camp on a small plateau. Aaron gathered firewood while Mira checked their equipment and supplies. Ravi prepared water and food, and Leela kept watch, scanning the dark horizon for any movement. Round the fire, they shared stories to keep spirits high. Aaron spoke of old kings and lost cities, of battles fought long ago and treasures hidden in plain sight. Mira told tales of her archaeological adventures, where careful study revealed secrets that no one expected. Despite the fun, a quiet tension remained. The tomb was near, and each of them felt the weight of the warnings they had read. During the night, the wind grew stronger. It swept across the desert, raising small clouds of sand. Strange sounds came with its soft whispers that seemed almost human. Leela shivered. The desert speaks in its own way, she said. We must listen. Aaron felt the same unease. He thought about the map, the symbols, and the warnings. The tomb was not just a place. It was a test of courage and wisdom. The next morning, they resumed their journey. The terrain grew more unusual. They crossed dry riverbeds filled with smooth stones and narrow canyons carved by time. Strange carvings appeared on rocks, showing figures of men, animals, and strange creatures. Mira studied them carefully. These are guides and warnings, she said. The builders wanted travelers to understand the path and respect the tomb. Aaron traced the figures with his fingers, imagining the hands that had carved them centuries ago. Suddenly, the sand shifted beneath them, revealing a shallow pit hidden by loose sand. Ravi almost fell in, but Leela grabbed his arm just in time. Be careful, she warned. The tomb is protected by more than just distance. They set traps to stop the careless. Aaron realized that the desert itself was part of the tomb's defense. Every step required caution, and any mistake could be dangerous. As they climbed a steep dune, Aaron spotted something unusual on the horizon, a shadowy outline of stone. Unlike any natural formation, rose from the sand. Mira's eyes widened. That must be part of the tomb, she said. It is hidden from most travelers. But the map led us here. The team quickened their pace, hearts pounding with excitement and fear. The tomb's secrets were close, and every step seemed to echo through history. When they reached the site, they found a wall of stone, half buried in sand, covered in carvings and inscriptions. The entrance was small and hidden, just as the map had shown. Aaron ran his hands over the symbols, feeling the cool stone beneath his fingers. Mira studied the inscriptions closely. They speak of guardians and trials, she said. They warn travelers to be careful. Only those who respect the tomb may enter safely. The team set up camp near the entrance. They spent the evening preparing tools, mapping the area, and discussing the plan for entering the tomb. The desert was quiet except for the wind, which seemed to whisper around them. Aaron felt a mixture of fear and excitement. He knew that tomorrow they would face the first real challenge. The tomb would test their courage, intelligence, and respect for history. That night, Aaron could not sleep. He stared at the stars, thinking about the king who had built the tomb, the warnings carved in stone, and the adventures that lay ahead. He felt that the desert was alive, watching, and waiting. He also felt the responsibility of discovery. This tomb was not just a treasure. It was a piece of history, a story that had survived centuries. How they treated it would determine the outcome of their journey. Before dawn, the team gathered their belongings. Aaron looked at Mira, Ravi, and Leela. Are we ready? He asked. Mira nodded. We must be careful. Respect the tomb, follow the map, and trust each other. This is only the beginning. Ravi and Leela agreed, and together they took the first steps toward the hidden entrance. The desert around them was vast and quiet, but the tomb's presence was strong. It called to them, promising mystery, history, and danger. Every grain of sand seemed to carry a story, every shadow a secret. Aaron felt the thrill of discovery mixed with caution. He knew that what lay ahead could change their lives forever. But he also knew that they were ready to face the challenges together. The journey through the desert had tested their strength and courage, but the tomb itself awaited. Beyond the hidden entrance, mysteries and trials lay ahead. Aaron, Mira, Ravi, and Leela were about to step into history, where the past and present would meet, and where respect, intelligence, and bravery would be the only tools to survive and succeed. The adventure was only beginning, and the desert, silent and golden, held its breath as the explorers prepared to enter a tomb that should never be disturbed. The desert morning was calm, with the sun rising slowly over golden dunes. Aaron, Mira, Ravi, and Leela approached the hidden entrance of the tomb. The air felt heavy, as if the desert itself was holding its breath. The stone wall they had seen the day before looked even more mysterious up close. Carvings covered every inch, depicting kings, guardians, and scenes of long-forgotten ceremonies. Some carvings seemed almost alive, as though the figures could move if someone stared too long. Mira knelt to examine the inscriptions. "These symbols are warnings," she said softly. "They tell us to enter carefully and with respect." The king did not want his tomb disturbed by those who were greedy or careless. Aaron traced the lines of the carvings with his fingers. He could feel the smoothness of the stone and the effort that went into every mark. He felt a mix of fear and excitement. This was not just a tomb. It was a message from the past. Ravi began clearing sand from the entrance, using a small shovel. The hidden doorway was narrow, only wide enough for one person to pass at a time. Leela held the lanterns, casting light into the shadows of the carved figures. The air smelled of dust and old stone, and a faint chill ran through the group despite the heat of the desert. Finally, the entrance was clear. Aaron looked at his friends. "Are we ready?" he asked. Mira nodded firmly. "We must move carefully. Watch each step and respect everything we see." Ravi tightened the straps of his pack, and Leela adjusted the lanterns. Together, they stepped inside. The passageway was narrow and dark. The walls were carved with more symbols and images. Some showed kings receiving treasures, while others showed people kneeling in respect. The floor was uneven, with small stones that shifted under their feet. Aaron led the way, holding a lantern high, while Mira followed, studying the carvings. Ravi and Leela brought up the rear, alert to every sound. As they moved deeper, the air grew cooler and damper. The silence of the tomb was different from the desert. It was complete, almost pressing. Every footstep echoed, and even their whispers sounded loud. The team felt the weight of centuries pressing around them. The tomb was not just a building. It was a guardian of history, testing their courage and patience. After a short distance, they reached a fork in the passage. One path sloped downward into darkness, while the other led to a small chamber lit by faint sunlight from a crack above. Mira examined the carvings near the fork. "The downward path is for those seeking treasure," she explained. "The chamber path shows respect and learning." The king wanted people to choose carefully. Aaron felt the temptation to go down, to see what treasures might lie hidden. Mira noticed his hesitation. "Remember, Aaron, curiosity must be balanced with respect. We cannot rush." They chose the chamber path. Inside, the walls were decorated with colorful murals, preserved by the dry air. The murals told the story of the forgotten king. He had been a wise ruler who brought peace to his land, built schools and temples, and protected his people. The king's achievements were shown in every detail: battles won without bloodshed, farmers tending golden fields, children learning under great teachers. Aaron and Mira studied every inch, amazed at the skill of the artist. In the center of the chamber was a stone pedestal with a small box on top. The box was carved from black stone and decorated with gold leaf. Aaron reached out carefully and opened it. Inside, he found small scrolls and carved figures. Mira examined them. "These are records of the king's life," she said. "They were preserved to teach lessons." The king wanted future generations to remember wisdom, courage, and respect. Aaron felt a deep sense of awe. This was more than treasure. It was a message from the past, preserved for centuries. As they explored the chamber, the floor beneath them shifted slightly. A low rumble echoed through the tomb. Ravi looked up nervously. "Was that the building settling?" he asked. Mira shook her head. "I think the tomb is reacting. It is built to protect itself." We must be careful not to touch anything we do not understand. Aaron nodded, realizing that their actions could have consequences. The team continued through the chamber, finding more murals and carvings. Each told a part of the king's story. One showed him making a difficult decision to protect his people. Another showed him building a grand temple in the heart of the city. Aaron noticed that the carvings also included guardian statues and figures that seemed to watch the paths. They were not real, but their presence was powerful, reminding the visitors that the tomb was sacred. At the end of the chamber, a large stone door blocked the path forward. It was decorated with jewels and more inscriptions. Mira studied the symbols. "This is the entrance to the inner tomb," she said. "The king's sarcophagus is beyond this door." The inscriptions warn of trials for anyone who enters without understanding. Aaron took a deep breath. He wanted to see the inner tomb, to discover the king's story fully. Mira placed a hand on his shoulder. "We must be cautious. Respect and patience are the keys." Ravi and Leela worked together to examine the door. They discovered a series of small levers and grooves. "This is not a simple door," Leela said. "It is designed to test intelligence and care. One wrong move could trigger traps." Aaron carefully studied the levers, matching them to the carvings on the walls. Slowly, he moved one lever, then another, listening to the soft clicks and shifts in the stone. The team worked together, supporting each other's decisions and checking for errors. After what felt like hours, the door finally moved slightly, enough to reveal a narrow passage. A soft, golden light spilled from inside. Aaron felt a mix of excitement and fear. They were about to enter the inner tomb, the most sacred place in the desert. Mira reminded them once again, "We enter with respect. No rushing, no greed. The tomb will reward those who are careful and wise." As they stepped into the passage, the air grew cooler and more still. The light revealed walls covered with gold leaf, intricate carvings, and statues of guardians. The floor was smooth, and the path narrowed as they moved forward. Aaron could feel the history surrounding them. Every step echoed through time. He realized that this journey was not just about discovery. It was about understanding, respect, and courage. At the end of the passage, they reached another chamber. It was larger than the first, with a high ceiling and walls covered in jewels and carvings. In the center stood the sarcophagus, decorated with gold, precious stones, and symbols of power. The king's figure was carved on the lid, with eyes that seemed to watch the visitors. Aaron felt a shiver. They had reached the heart of the tomb, but the tomb itself seemed alive, as if judging their intentions. Mira whispered, "This is it, the king's final resting place. We must be careful. Every action matters." Aaron, Ravi, and Leela nodded, feeling the weight of the moment. They had come far, past trials, and faced the desert. Now, they stood at the threshold of history itself. The tomb that should never be disturbed had opened its secrets to them, but only because they had shown respect, patience, and courage. The team paused, taking a moment to appreciate the beauty, history, and power of the tomb. Aaron realized that the adventure was just beginning. Beyond the sarcophagus lay the true mysteries of the king, the lessons he had left behind, and the challenges that would test their hearts and minds. The desert outside was silent, but the tomb inside whispered stories of courage, wisdom, and respect, waiting for those who were ready to listen. The inner chamber was silent except for the sound of their footsteps. Aaron, Mira, Ravi, and Leela stood before the king's sarcophagus, feeling the weight of centuries pressing around them. The walls glowed with golden light reflected from jewels. Embedded in the stone, statues of guardians lined the room, their eyes seeming to follow every movement. Aaron felt a shiver, realizing that the tomb was more than just a building. It was alive with history, and it had been waiting for them to arrive. Mira spoke softly, "We must be careful. The king built this place to protect his treasures and his story. There are traps and tests for those who are careless." Aaron nodded, his hand hovering over the sarcophagus lid. He could see intricate carvings of the king's face, calm and proud. He felt the temptation to open it immediately, but he remembered Mira's warning. Respect was the first rule. They began exploring the chamber, examining the walls and statues. Small grooves and levers appeared in the carvings. Ravi touched one accidentally, and a soft click echoed through the room. A hidden panel shifted, revealing a narrow passage to the left. The tomb responds to movement. Mira said, "We must think carefully before we act." Aaron studied the panel and realized that the king had designed this chamber as a puzzle. Only careful observation and intelligence would allow them to proceed safely. They decided to move slowly, testing each step. Leela held a lantern high, casting light across the floor and walls. Aaron and Mira worked together to read the symbols and carvings, trying to understand the sequence of actions needed to open further passages. The tomb demanded patience, and the team felt the weight of responsibility. Every choice mattered. As they continued, a small section of the floor shifted beneath Aaron's foot. A narrow pit had been hidden by sand and dust. Ravi grabbed Aaron's arm just in time. "Watch carefully," he warned. Mira examined the floor and discovered more traps hidden pits, pressure plates, and stones that could slide open to reveal spikes. The king wanted to protect his treasures from those who were reckless, she said. "We must respect the rules of the tomb." The team moved cautiously, using ropes to test the ground and marking safe paths. Aaron realized that the traps were clever but fair. They were not meant to harm out of cruelty. They were designed to test patience, attention, and teamwork. Every member of the team had a role. Mira deciphered symbols. Ravi watched for traps. Leela guided with light, and Aaron led the steps with careful observation. After some time, they reached a larger chamber. This room was decorated with murals showing the king's life. One panel depicted him helping farmers. Another showed him teaching children, and a third showed him making peace between warring kingdoms. Aaron studied the images, feeling respect for the king's wisdom. Mira said, "The king's story is the treasure. It is knowledge, courage, and respect preserved for centuries. That is what makes this tomb sacred." At the center of the chamber was another puzzle, a series of stone levers, connected to a large metal door. The door was covered with inscriptions, warning of danger for those who acted without thought. Aaron studied the carvings carefully. He noticed a pattern. The levers had to be pulled in a certain order, matching the lessons shown in the murals. The king had designed this test to see if visitors understood his story. They worked together, discussing each step. Aaron suggested one lever. Mira checked the symbols, and Ravi and Leela adjusted the ropes and lanterns. Each movement had to be precise. One wrong lever could trigger traps or block the passage completely. Aaron felt tension building, but he also felt trust in his friends. They had come this far by working together, and teamwork would be the key to succeeding now. Finally, after what felt like hours of careful planning, the levers clicked into place. The metal door slowly opened, revealing a narrow corridor beyond. Golden light spilled from inside, reflecting off walls decorated with carvings of stars, planets, and figures reaching toward the sky. The team paused, amazed at the beauty. They had passed the first major trials, proving their intelligence and respect for the tomb. As they moved forward, the corridor narrowed, and the air grew cooler. The walls were lined with more carvings, showing the king's guards, scholars, and citizens. Some carvings seemed to move in the flickering light of the lanterns. Aaron felt a strange sense of being watched, not in fear, but as if the king himself observed their progress. Mira whispered, "The tomb is alive with history. It recognizes those who honor it." Suddenly, a hidden mechanism shifted, and a stone wall partially closed behind them. The team froze. Leela held the lantern high, revealing a small inscription. Above the doorway, Mira read aloud, "Only those who proceed with wisdom and courage may continue. The rest shall turn back." Aaron understood. The tomb tested not just their intelligence, but also their courage. They could not hesitate or fear. They had to trust their skills and each other. They continued through the passage, facing more challenges. Small pits appeared, levers blocked paths, and sections of the floor required precise steps. Each time, the team communicated, checked symbols, and moved carefully. Aaron realized that the tomb was teaching them lessons. Every trial was a reminder that patience, respect, and courage were more valuable than greed or haste. After passing several trials, they entered a chamber filled with small treasures, gold coins, jewels, and artifacts were carefully placed on pedestals. Aaron felt a rush of excitement, but Mira held up her hand. "These are not the true treasure," she said. "The king's story, wisdom, and the lessons we learn are the real treasures. We must not take these lightly or remove anything without understanding." Aaron nodded. They documented the artifacts, sketched the designs, and took notes, but left everything in place. At the far end of the chamber, a final trial awaited. A large stone door, covered with intricate carvings, blocked the path to the king's sarcophagus. The carvings showed scenes of judgment and guardians testing visitors. Aaron studied the patterns. Realizing that this was the ultimate test, the team had to demonstrate all they had learned: respect, intelligence, courage, and teamwork. They worked together again, moving levers, testing plates, and reading inscriptions. Every action was deliberate, careful, and thoughtful. The tension grew, but so did their confidence. They had passed many challenges already, and they trusted each other to succeed in this final test. Slowly, the stone door began to move, revealing the next chamber. The golden light from inside reflected off walls adorned with carvings of the king's achievements and guardians. Aaron felt awe. They had passed the trials, proving their worth. The tomb had tested them, taught them, and now rewarded their carefulness and respect. Mira smiled. "We have come far, but the journey is not over. The sarcophagus and the heart of the tomb await us." The team took a deep breath, knowing that the next step would bring them even closer to history, mystery, and the lessons left behind by the forgotten king. Every challenge they had faced had strengthened their resolve, and together they were ready for whatever lay ahead. The final stone door opened slowly, revealing a large chamber unlike anything Aaron, Mira, Ravi, and Leela had seen before. The walls glowed faintly with golden light that seemed to come from within. The stone itself, jewels sparkled in the carvings, and statues of guardians stood in perfect silence. The air was cool and heavy, carrying a faint scent of incense from long ago. The team stepped inside carefully, feeling both awe and fear. In the center of the chamber stood a massive sarcophagus, decorated with gold, precious stones, and symbols of power. The king's likeness was carved on the lid, his eyes wide and wise. Surrounding the sarcophagus were smaller pedestals holding scrolls, artifacts, and objects that seemed to glow softly. Aaron could feel the importance of the place. This was the heart of the tomb, the most sacred space. Mira whispered, "This is the forbidden chamber. The inscriptions warned us about entering without understanding. We must be careful. Every action matters here." Aaron nodded. He felt a mixture of excitement and caution. They had passed all the traps and trials, but this room was different. It seemed alive, as if it could sense their intentions. The team moved slowly, examining the walls and statues. Each guardian figure appeared to watch them. Aaron noticed symbols on the floor leading to the sarcophagus. Mira bent down to study them. "These symbols show respect and caution," she said. "They guide us to approach correctly. We cannot rush or touch anything without understanding." Aaron traced the path with his feet, careful not to step outside the lines. Ravi examined the objects on the pedestals. Small figurines, scrolls, and carved stones were displayed neatly. "These must be important," he said, "but they are delicate. We should document them without disturbing them." Leela took notes and made sketches, recording every detail. Aaron felt a deep sense of responsibility. This chamber was not just about treasure, it was history preserved for centuries. As they approached the sarcophagus, a faint hum filled the room. The light from the walls flickered slightly. Aaron paused. "Do you hear that?" he asked. Mira nodded. "It is the tomb responding to our presence. It is testing our respect and patience. We must remain calm and careful." The team took a deep breath and moved slowly toward the sarcophagus, following the path of symbols. At the sarcophagus, Aaron studied the lid carefully. Carvings showed the king sitting on a throne, holding a scroll. The inscription at the base read, Only those who respect wisdom shall understand the heart of the tomb. Aaron felt the weight of the words. He realized that curiosity alone was not enough. They had to understand the lessons of the king's life. Mira spoke softly. The king valued knowledge, courage, and respect. These are the keys to what lies within. We must approach with humility. Aaron nodded. He touched the carvings lightly, feeling the smooth stone beneath his fingers. He thought about their journey through the desert, the traps they had passed, and the lessons they had learned. Every step had prepared them for this moment. Suddenly, a small stone panel in the wall shifted, revealing another inscription. It showed figures bowing before the king, offering gifts with respect. Aaron realized that the tomb required not only caution, but also understanding of the king's values. They had to show respect through their actions. Mira suggested they document the chamber before touching anything further. Ravi and Leela carefully sketched the sarcophagus, the pedestals, and the inscriptions, making sure nothing was disturbed. After recording the details, Aaron felt a strong desire to see what lay inside the sarcophagus. He looked at Mira, who gave him a warning glance. "We must be careful," she said. "The tomb may react to impatience or greed. Think carefully before acting." Aaron nodded. He placed his hands gently on the lid, feeling the carvings and the weight of history. The king's life, wisdom, and respect for knowledge were all represented here. With Mira's guidance, Aaron began to lift the sarcophagus lid slowly. The tomb seemed to respond. A soft hum filled the chamber, and golden light shifted across the walls. The team held their breath, watching as the lid moved. Inside, they saw the king's remains, preserved with care, and a glowing object resting near his chest. The object radiated a gentle light, illuminating symbols on the sarcophagus floor. Aaron felt both awe and fear. The glowing object seemed important, but Aaron remembered Mira's warning. They could not act recklessly. Mira suggested documenting everything first. They took careful notes, described the object, and sketched the scene. Aaron realized that the tomb had rewarded their patience and respect. By showing understanding, they were allowed to see the heart of the king's resting place. Suddenly, the chamber shook slightly. The statues of guardians seemed to cast longer shadows. The team froze, realizing that the tomb itself was responding to their actions. Aaron felt a wave of responsibility. Any mistake now could have serious consequences. Mira guided him, reminding him to move slowly and deliberately. They checked the symbols on the floor, ensuring that each step honored the king's wishes. As they studied the glowing object, Aaron felt a deep connection to history. The tomb was not just a place of burial, it was a message. The king had left lessons of wisdom, courage, and respect for those who could understand. Aaron realized that the true treasure was knowledge, preserved through careful design, art, and symbolism. The glowing object represented that knowledge, a reward for those who approached with the right heart. Ravi and Leela examined the sarcophagus surroundings for any hidden mechanisms or traps. They discovered small grooves that indicated past security measures, but all were inactive. The tomb had been prepared for centuries, designed to test, teach, and protect. The team understood that this was the culmination of their journey through the desert and the tomb. Every trial, every careful step, had led them to this chamber. Aaron carefully closed the sarcophagus lid after documenting the glowing object. Mira reminded the team to leave everything undisturbed. They had learned the lessons of patience, respect, and courage. The tomb had shared its secrets with them because they had honored its rules. Aaron felt a mixture of satisfaction, awe, and humility. They had reached the forbidden chamber, understood its purpose, and respected its wisdom. The team paused, taking in the beauty and significance of the chamber. Statues, carvings, and inscriptions surrounded them, each telling a story of the king's life and values. Aaron realized that the tomb was more than a resting place. It was a teacher. Every challenge, every trial, and every careful action had revealed lessons that would last a lifetime. Mira spoke softly. The tomb is alive with history. It has accepted us because we have shown respect. Never forget what we have learned here. The team slowly began to leave the chamber, moving carefully along the same path they had taken to enter. The tomb seemed calm now, as if satisfied with their actions. Aaron felt a deep sense of accomplishment. They had reached the heart of the tomb, discovered its secrets, and learned its lessons. The desert outside awaited them, but they knew that this experience would remain with them forever. The forbidden chamber had tested their courage, intelligence, and respect. Aaron, Mira, Ravi, and Leela had succeeded not by greed, but by patience, teamwork, and understanding. The tomb's story, preserved for centuries, had finally been revealed to those worthy of its wisdom. The team stayed a few moments longer in the forbidden chamber, taking in the carvings, statues, and the soft glow of the mysterious object. Aaron, Mira, Ravi, and Leela understood that they had achieved something extraordinary, yet a quiet tension lingered in the air, as if the tomb itself was still observing their actions. Every step, every touch, and every movement had meaning here. Aaron finally spoke, his voice low. "We need to leave, carefully. The tomb has shown us its secrets. Now it is time to return and honor what we have learned." Mira nodded, and the team began to retrace their path. Each step required caution, as the tomb was designed to test visitors, not only entering but also leaving. The walls seemed to shift slightly in the flickering light, reminding them that they were still part of a living, ancient structure. As they moved, Ravi paused. "I think I see something ahead," he said. A faint glow emerged from a corner of the passage. They approached slowly and discovered a small alcove carved into the wall. Inside, there were tiny figures, painted in gold and red, showing scenes of the king's life, teaching, helping, and guiding his people. Mira leaned closer. "These must be the final lessons," she whispered. "The tomb is reminding us of wisdom, courage, and respect, even as we leave." Aaron traced one of the figures with his finger. He felt a sense of humility and gratitude for the king who had preserved his story so carefully. The team continued through the corridor, carefully avoiding the pits, levers, and pressure plates they had already encountered. The tomb had been designed to protect itself from those who were reckless, and Aaron realized that even a single careless step could trigger a hidden trap. Leela held the lantern high, illuminating the path and marking areas they had already checked. Ravi used a small rod to test the floor ahead. Together, their teamwork allowed them to navigate safely. Suddenly, a faint rumble echoed through the chamber. The team froze. Aaron held his breath, remembering the tomb's earlier responses. Mira raised a hand. "Stay calm. We have been careful so far. The tomb may be reacting to our presence or movement. We must continue slowly and with respect." They moved step by step, feeling the walls around them almost vibrate with ancient energy. As they approached the larger chamber near the entrance, they noticed something unexpected. Sand and dust had shifted, revealing markings they had not seen before. The inscriptions glowed faintly, indicating a new message. Mira studied them. "The tomb is still testing us," she said. "Even after discovering the king's secrets, it wants to see if we leave with caution and understanding." Aaron nodded. They understood that their journey was not over until they were safely outside. The team followed the markings carefully. The floor had hidden grooves and small levers that could trigger traps. Aaron stepped lightly, lifting his feet high to avoid pressure plates. Ravi and Leela moved behind him, checking every step. Mira guided them, reading the symbols and explaining their meaning. They had learned that the tomb rewarded patience and intelligence and punished haste and greed. Suddenly, a section of the wall shifted, revealing a hidden doorway. Golden light spilled through, but it seemed unnatural, almost alive. Aaron paused. "Should we go forward?" he asked Mira. She examined the doorway closely. "It is part of the tomb," she said. "The inscription suggests that it leads to a safe path outside. We must proceed carefully, but we cannot turn back now." The team moved forward, hearts pounding with anticipation and caution. The passage narrowed, and the air became cooler. Aaron noticed that the carvings on the walls were different now. They showed figures bowing, helping others, and showing humility. The tomb seemed to be reminding them that respect and kindness were more valuable than curiosity. or greed, Leela whispered. Even as we leave, the king teaches us lessons. Aaron felt the truth in her words. Every step of this journey had been a lesson in patience, courage, teamwork, and understanding history. As they continued, a soft hum filled the corridor. The glowing object in the forbidden chamber seemed to emit a faint light that reached into the passage, guiding them. Mira smiled. It is as if the tomb is blessing our exit. We have respected it, and now it allows us to leave safely. Aaron felt a sense of relief and wonder. The tomb had tested them fully, and they had passed every challenge. Finally, they reached the chamber they had first entered in Part 4. The large stone door leading to the desert stood before them. Aaron and Mira checked for traps one last time. Ravi and Leela held lanterns steady, ready to assist. Aaron carefully moved the levers in reverse order, unlocking the mechanism as they had observed before. The stone door groaned as it shifted open, revealing sunlight and the familiar desert. Beyond, the team stepped outside slowly, blinking in the bright light. The desert stretched before them, golden and silent. Aaron felt the warmth of the sun on his face and realized how different it felt after the cool, still air of the tomb. Mira smiled. We made it, she said softly. We have seen history, learned lessons, and respected the tomb. The king's story is safe with us. Ravi and Leela nodded, feeling a mixture of exhaustion and triumph. They had faced traps, puzzles, and tests of patience and intelligence. Now, they stood in the desert, carrying knowledge and experience far greater than any treasure of gold or jewels. Aaron looked back at the tomb's entrance, half buried in sand, feeling a deep respect for the builders and the king who had created such a clever and meaningful resting place. The team set up a small camp near the entrance to rest before their journey back to the village. They shared quiet conversation about their experiences, what they had learned, and the lessons of the tomb. Aaron reflected on the challenges they had faced and realized that the tomb had not only tested their intelligence and courage, but also their hearts. They had acted with respect, teamwork, and patience, and that had allowed them to succeed. During the evening, as the sun set over the desert, Aaron and Mira walked a short distance from the camp. This experience has changed us, Aaron said. We came seeking history and treasure, but we found wisdom, courage, and respect. The king's story will stay with us forever. Mira nodded. The tomb was not only a place of rest for the king, it was a teacher, guiding us to understand the value of knowledge and patience. We were fortunate to witness it. The desert grew quiet. With only the wind moving sand across the dunes, stars appeared in the sky, bright and endless. Aaron felt a sense of peace, knowing that they had completed the tomb's trials and carried its lessons safely back to the world. The journey had tested them in ways they had never imagined, and the tomb had revealed its secrets only to those worthy of respect and understanding. As they packed their camp and prepared to return to the village, Aaron, Mira, Ravi, and Leela felt a deep connection to history and to each other. The desert had been harsh, the tomb had been challenging, and their journey had been long. But they had learned the value of teamwork, courage, and respect. They carried not only the story of the king, but also a sense of humility and gratitude. The tomb that should never be disturbed had been honored. Its secrets had been revealed, not to those seeking greed, but to those who approached with understanding, patience, and respect. Aaron knew that the lessons of the tomb would guide them for the rest of their lives, and that they would carry the king's wisdom back to their village, sharing stories that inspired courage, intelligence, and respect for history. The desert was calm, bathed in the soft golden light of morning. Aaron, Mira, Ravi, and Leela walked steadily toward the village, their steps careful but confident. The sand beneath their feet felt different now, softer somehow, as if the desert itself acknowledged the lessons they had learned. Each member of the team carried more than equipment. They carried wisdom, courage, and respect for history. As they walked, Aaron thought about the tomb. Its secrets had been revealed to them, but only because they had approached with patience and respect. He realized that treasure was not always gold or jewels, but knowledge and understanding. Mira noticed him deep in thought. "We have learned the true lesson of the king," she said softly. "The tomb was never meant to be looted. Its purpose was to teach, not to give riches. We have passed the test." Aaron nodded, feeling the truth in her words. The journey back to the village was long, but the team moved with steady determination. Ravi carried the recorded notes and sketches, while Leela guided them through the shifting dunes. Mira and Aaron occasionally discussed the carvings, murals, and lessons from the tomb. They reflected on the traps, the puzzles, and the test of patience and teamwork. Every challenge had strengthened them, teaching them not just about history, but about themselves. By afternoon, the village came into view. Smoke rose from chimneys, and children played near the edges of the sand. Villagers paused to watch the explorers return. Word had spread of their expedition, and curiosity mixed with admiration in their eyes. Aaron felt a mixture of pride and humility. They had returned safely, but they also carried responsibility. The tomb's secrets were not for bragging. They were a lesson to be shared with respect. At the village center, the team spread out their notes, sketches, and observations. The elders gathered to hear their story. Aaron began to speak, carefully explaining the journey, the challenges, and the lessons of the tomb. He emphasized the importance of respect, courage, and patience. Mira added details about the carvings and inscriptions, showing how the king had designed the tomb as a teacher rather than a trap. The villagers listened intently, impressed not only by the adventure, but also by the wisdom gained. Ravi and Leela demonstrated the maps, diagrams, and safe paths through the desert and tomb. They showed how teamwork and careful observation had been essential to success. Aaron pointed to sketches of the sarcophagus and the glowing object, explaining their significance without disturbing or removing anything from the tomb. The villagers realized that true treasure was knowledge, not gold. Respecting history had led the team to understand lessons that would last generations. That evening, the team sat around a small fire outside the village. The stars shone brightly above, countless and eternal. Aaron looked at Mira, Ravi, and Leela. "We have learned so much," he said. "The tomb tested us, guided us, and rewarded us because we showed respect. I feel that our lives will never be the same." Mira nodded. "History is not just about the past," she said. "It teaches us how to live in the present and prepare for the future. The king's wisdom is alive, even after centuries." Ravi smiled. "I never imagined that a tomb could teach so much. I thought we would find treasure, but what we found is far more valuable." Leela agreed. "We have discovered the importance of patience, teamwork, and courage. These lessons will stay with us always." Aaron realized that the desert, the tomb, and their journey had changed them. They had grown not just as explorers, but as people who could understand the meaning of respect and responsibility. The next morning, the team returned to the edge of the desert. They wanted to ensure the tomb remained undisturbed. Aaron placed a small marker in the sand, hidden but respectful, as a sign for future explorers who might also approach with wisdom. Mira checked the carvings and pathways, confirming that everything was as they had found it. Ravi and Leela secured their notes and sketches, leaving the tomb itself untouched. They had honored the king's wishes and the sacred place before leaving the desert completely. Aaron turned to look back at the dunes. The entrance of the tomb was half hidden by sand. Calm and silent, he felt a deep respect for the king and the builders who had preserved history so carefully. "The tomb will remain safe," he said quietly. "It will continue to teach those who come with patience and respect." Mira, Ravi, and Leela nodded. They understood that true exploration was not only about discovery, but also about responsibility and reverence for the past. Back in the village, the team shared their journey with the younger generation. Children listened with wide eyes as Aaron described the desert, the carvings, and the lessons of the tomb. Mira taught them how to observe and respect history, emphasizing patience and courage. Ravi and Leela demonstrated maps and safe ways to study historical sites. The village learned that history was alive and that understanding it required more than curiosity. It required respect and care. Days passed, and the team reflected on their adventure. Aaron realized that the tomb had given them more than knowledge. It had given them a new way to see the world. Every challenge had taught patience. Every puzzle had taught teamwork, and every obstacle had strength and courage. Mira said, "The tomb was never meant to be disturbed for treasure. Its purpose was to shape those who approached it wisely. We have been shaped by it." Aaron smiled, feeling the truth in her words. As time went on, the story of the tomb spread. Quietly beyond the village, scholars, historians, and travelers heard about the tomb. But its location remained secret. Aaron, Mira, Ravi, and Leela kept the details safe, understanding that revealing the tomb could invite greed or disrespect. The tomb had taught them that wisdom must be preserved, not sold, and that knowledge carries responsibility. One evening, Aaron and Mira walked along the desert edge, watching the sunset. "Do you think we will ever return?" Aaron asked. Mira shook her head. "Perhaps. But the tomb does not belong to us. It belongs to history, to those who respect it. Our job was to learn and carry its lessons. That we have done." Aaron nodded, feeling a deep sense of peace. They had honored the tomb, learned its lessons, and returned safely with wisdom. The desert, calm and golden, seemed to whisper its approval. The tomb remained hidden, silent, and sacred, waiting for those who would approach with patience, courage, and respect. Aaron, Mira, Ravi, and Leela understood that the adventure had changed them forever. They had discovered history, faced challenges, and returned wiser than before. The tomb's story, preserved for centuries, had now become part of their lives. As night fell, the team looked at the stars, feeling connected to the past and the lessons of the king. They realized that true treasure was not gold or jewels, but understanding, courage, and respect. The tomb that should never be disturbed had fulfilled its purpose. It had taught them, tested them, and shared its wisdom. Aaron smiled, knowing that they had succeeded not because of bravery alone, but because of respect, patience, and teamwork. The village slept quietly under the desert sky, and the tomb lay hidden, its secrets safe, waiting patiently for the next generation to approach with the right heart. Aaron, Mira, Ravi, and Leela had completed their journey. They had faced the desert, solved the tomb's puzzles, discovered the forbidden chamber, and returned to share knowledge and lessons. History had spoken through the tomb, and they had listened carefully, carrying its wisdom forward. The adventure had ended, but the lessons would last forever. Aaron realized that they had been part of something greater than themselves. The tomb, the desert, and the king's story had all combined to teach them courage, respect, intelligence, and patience. They had honored history, learned its secrets, and returned to the world wiser than before. The tomb had spoken, and they had listened.